चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्यानंदे। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभुत्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So ठीक है। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 शुद्धाय शांताय नमः निष्ठया।
शुद्धाय शांताय नमः स्वनिष्ठया।
मनस्य अपार्थम विलसद्वयाय।
मनस्य अपार्थम विलसद्वयाय।
नमो जगत्स्थान लयोदयेषु।
नमो जगत्स्थान लयोदयेषु।
गृहीत माया गुण विग्रहाय।
गृहीत माया गुण विग्रहाय।
Someone like to read? Hare Krishna. Would someone
Hare Prabhu.
like to read?
Hare Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Dear Lord, we beg to offer our obeisances to you. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. Your transcendental form is full of transcendental bliss. We therefore offer our respects unto you. Your appearance as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are meant for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and annihilating this cosmic manifestation. Purport by His Divine Grace Swami Prabhupada. A pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord can certainly appreciate the impermanence of this material world, although such a devotee may be engaged in executing material activities. This stage is called Anashakti, as explained by Srila Rupa Goswami. Anashaktasya visayan yatharam upayunjataha. A devotee is always unattached to material activities because, in the liberated stage, his mind is always fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. The material world is called Dvaita, the world of duality. A devotee knows very well that everything within this material world is but a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy. To maintain the three modes of material nature, the Supreme Lord takes on different forms as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. Unaffected by the modes of material nature, the Lord takes on different forms to create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation. The conclusion is that although the pure devotee appears to engage in material activities in the service of the Lord, he knows very well that material enjoyment for sense gratification has no use whatsoever. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. So Lord is Advaita. Advaita. So what is Dvaita? Dvaita means, it means duality. Dvaita, see, from the perspective of, if you say the perspective of Madhvacharya, Dvaita means Jiva and Paramatma. Or from the perspective of, you can say Vaishnava philosophy in general, Dvaita means material and spiritual. But Lord is Advaita. In case of Lord, there is no duality. The Lord, Supreme Lord, is the conclusion of all dualities. So as Gajendra is also praying to the Lord, he says that, my dear Lord, you are above the conception of neti neti, not this, not this. You are everything. The Supreme Lord is Advaita. So this very same Supreme Lord, he is the origin of Mahatattva. He is also the origin of this material nature and the three gunas within them. But the Supreme Lord also, he accepts these three material modes within this material world. He accepts these three modes and he appears as Brahma and Shiva also. Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva. So he accepts these three forms and he appears to be within the modes of nature. So, just like sometimes, a factory owner may sometimes go and work in his own machinery. So someone may think, that, okay, now the owner is also working in the factory. But that is not the case. He's just doing it out of his fun, he's just doing this as, some kind of an experiment. He's just trying to understand how this thing works. But in other words, he himself is beyond this. So just like that, the Supreme Lord accepts the three modes of nature within this material world. So Krishna is explaining in the Gita also that if I do not perform my duties, the whole world will be put to ruination and I will be the reason for it. So Krishna has explained that already in the Gita. So Lord is performing his duties only as a matter of guidance, only for guiding the living entities. He's not doing this as an obligation. The Lord is not obliged to do anything. But still he does it just to set an example in front of other living entities. So the Supreme Lord takes these forms, but he's unaffected by those. So just like that, the pure devotees of the Lord, they also manifest within this world. So sometimes the spiritual master appears to suffer. But one should understand that even though he's appearing to suffer, his suffering is transcendental. If a ship, like a very powerful ship, goes into the ocean, it will also be tossed around by the waves, but it's not going to sink. So the spiritual master also may appear to be under the influence of the modes of nature, but he's not. So for a pure devotee of the Lord, there is no question of spiritual or material. All this concept of Advaita is applicable to pure devotee as much as it is applicable to the Supreme Lord. Because, see, what is material, what is spiritual? According to the general Vedic philosophies, even the philosophy of the Mayavadis or even general Vaishnava philosophy, material means Mahatattva and spiritual means the Supreme Lord, Vishnu Tattva. But Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have given a very different definition of spiritual and material. So, for example, a glass of water is both spiritual and material. So the consciousness is actually spiritual or material. The object itself is not. So the same material body can be spiritual or it can be material, depending on the consciousness of the living entity inhabiting it. So, for example, something as gross as driving a car on the street can also be pure devotional service, but at the same time, offering arati to the Lord, to Radha and Krishna on the altar, can also be material. So if one is driving a car on the street with the pure consciousness of rendering service to the Lord without consideration of personal discomfort, that is pure devotional service. But on the other hand, if someone is standing on the altar offering service to the deity, or even speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam on the Vyasasana, but thinking of one's own reputation, one's own position and how it is going to be enhanced, then even that activity is purely material. One may speak the highest conceptions, the highest truths from Srimad Bhagavatam, but still that would remain purely material. So that is the difference between spiritual and material. So a devotee who is always unattached to material activities remains liberated. And therefore, all his activities are also on the platform of liberation or the Brahma Bhuta platform. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So that means all depends on our consciousness, that matter or spirit. Because normally we understand that matter is always impure. Whenever the gross matter, we always understand that it is impure. But if the consciousness of the living entity is situated in the Supreme, then even that gross material matter becomes spiritual, because it has been used in the devotional service. That's why.
And this is a very important concept, Prabhu, because if we do not understand this concept, we will commit many aparadhs. Many serious offenses will commit. So how? That I'll explain. Because this is a very important subject matter. Without understanding this, you will not make an inch progress in bhakti. So, for example, there's a very severe misconception within the ISKCON community. I mean, this is not outside ISKCON. Outside ISKCON, people are quite clear, especially other Vaishnava acharyas. Like if I speak to say Madhvas or Shri Vaishnavas, they're very clear in their understanding. But this misconception largely exists within ISKCON, that somehow or the other, Srila Prabhupada is not in the same league as Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami. Or somehow or the other, that our modern day acharyas like Bhakti Vinod Thakur or Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur are in some ways slightly inferior to the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Especially Srila Prabhupada. Like, I've met so many senior devotees in many holy places also, and always the conception is that Srila Prabhupada is also one of the teachers. Not like he is the Acharya. He's not like considered in the same league as Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, but he's considered like one of the guys. Maybe he's one of the guys. There are there are these Goswamis of Radhakund, and there are so many Goswamis in Mayapur. So Prabhupada is also like one of them. And that offense is the reason why, as ISKCON, we are not really progressing anywhere. We are not producing any Goswamis, because we take Prabhupada very lightly, very cheaply. We want to study so many books because we feel, Prabhupada was not speaking Sanskrit. Actually, I was just hearing one lecture yesterday, Dharmasya Apavargasya Nartho Arthaya Kalpate. And that lecture, that explanation that Srila Prabhupada gives is brilliant. It's just maybe a 3-paragraph explanation that Srila Prabhupada has given, but it's a brilliant explanation. And especially of the term Apavargasya. And Prabhupada, like 1 to 2 paragraphs, Srila Prabhupada is simply explaining the term Apavargasya. And it's such a brilliant explanation. So Srila Prabhupada is actually no less than the Goswamis of Vrindavan. In fact, according to Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, Srila Prabhupada was actually more, because Mahapatit Pavan. He went down to the level of dogs and hogs to preach to them. He literally went down to that level to pick those people up. So you see, because why we think like this is because Prabhupada is speaking English, the language of the Mlecchas. Srila Prabhupada is traveling in jet aeroplanes. Srila Prabhupada is traveling by cars. Srila Prabhupada is talking about modern day topics. So we somehow think that he's not in the same league as the 6 Goswamis. So you see, this great offense alone holds us back. And not just us, even Prabhupada's own disciples. I've met so many of them. And they also think that Prabhupada is, he's a great personality, but not in the same league as Rupa Goswami, maybe. He didn't give too much. Actually, Srila Prabhupada is like Jesus Christ. He had so much to give, but he could not give. He didn't have time. We should never ever make the mistake of thinking that Srila Prabhupada is some ordinary Acharya. No, he's not even an ordinary Acharya. He's Mahapatit Pavan. Srila Prabhupada, like this, what was Madhva Sampradaya or Shri Sampradaya? I think it was Shri Sampradaya. One of the Acharyas of Shri Sampradaya, who had compared Srila Prabhupada to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said that he is an incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because no one else can preach with that Shakti. So you see, even the other Sampradayas recognize the position of Srila Prabhupada. So we have to understand, because Srila Prabhupada is looking like us, or he's talking in English, or he's traveling by car, doesn't mean that he's less than the Goswamis of Vrindavan. So here we make this mistake that Prabhupada speaks English, so he is somewhat lesser. It's not like that at all. And that is the biggest mistake that we make. And I'm saying this because somewhere in my mind, this offensive thought has been even inside my own mind at one point, around 10, 12 years ago. But a great deal of introspection, a great deal of analysis, a great deal of discussion finally cleared this misconception. Srila Prabhupada is no less than the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Actually, he is even more merciful. The great devotees are not so accessible. If you see the teachings of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you will find them so difficult. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is so difficult to understand for foolish people like us. Srila Prabhupada practically digested the whole material, like, a bird. The baby birds, when they hatch from the egg, they have no digestive capacity really. So the bird literally digests the food for them and then feeds it to them. Srila Prabhupada has done something similar for us. We have no capacity. We have no capacity. So you can imagine, if you try to understand the verses of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, how will you understand? Just try to read the Sanskrit of Bhagavad Gita and then try to give your own explanation. Then you will realize the importance of Srila Prabhupada. Why is the fourth chapter called Transcendental Knowledge and the third chapter called Karma Yoga? Try to just understand this. Just go home. Just, after this session, just try to read these two chapters and come and explain to me why fourth chapter is Transcendental Knowledge, but third chapter is Karma Yoga. Actually, entire Karma Yoga is explained in the fourth chapter. But why are these titles given like that? Just try to understand this and then you will understand the brilliance of Srila Prabhupada. Or take any purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and then, read the Sanskrit, read the word-to-word transliteration and then see Prabhupada's commentary. Then you will understand what I'm saying. So you see, this is the difference between spiritual and material. Under the authority of Srila Prabhupada, even a Malecha language like English becomes an exalted language of the Supreme Lord. That is spiritual. That simply by reading English, we can become pure devotees of the Lord. Do you think Jayanand Prabhu had the time to study Sanskrit? Not at all. But he is considered one of the acharyas. Srila Prabhupada proclaimed him as an acharya, living by his own example. So that is spiritual. So does that answer your question, Prabhu? Dandavat Pranam. Yes.
Guruji, I think very nicely explained by you. Of course, we were also knowing about what you said. We believed in that, and today I believe in that. But I be comparing with 6 Goswamis and Prabhupada. I think in my very little understanding, all 6 Goswamis are very great devotees and great saints, I must say. And but they were confined basically to Bengal and at the most up to UP, etc.
Yeah.
While Prabhupada ji was spreading the message of his Guru Maharaj, who said that you go and preach outside, and that you have to be done into English only. So what Prabhupada did was exactly what his Guru Maharaj wanted, and what was recorded according to his role. So all those who are making these misunderstandings are absolutely misunderstood people themselves. They are confused. So what was role given to him, Prabhupada was perfectly doing it, and you are rightly. In case these had not been translated in English, and I was hearing Prabhupada elsewhere also, the certain books have been translated in Spanish and those languages. How could this literature could have been gone outside India? They would have understood it in Hindi or Sanskrit.
And the thing is, even we wouldn't have understood it.
Absolutely, yeah, you are right. You are absolutely right. And in fact, even today, after being associated with you all and all that, I fail to understand what is written in Sanskrit. Though I studied Sanskrit up to intermediate classes. But that was a very low standard, understanding Bhagavad Gita. Unless we understand it properly, I think Bhagavad Gita becomes meaningless.
Absolutely. And these purports are so brilliant. They are exactly suited for consciousness.
Only other day I was telling my daughter, tell me how many acharyas there who have written more than 70 books. And with the depth and the control over the English language. Is excellent. I must say somebody who's doctorate in English may also be failing to read this type of English. I used to study books from the Oxford and Cambridge in my time. Well, with a lot of depth and everything. But Prabhupada's comments are much higher than that.
Absolutely.
So I think there are some misunderstood people who have been spreading this message, which is absolutely incorrect to my humble mind at least. Prabhupada is a personality, will remain a personality, and we should not try to compare him with anybody. Goswami had their role. So they did their role. They give acharyas. But what Prabhupada was doing was exactly what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. Who said ki Jako dekhe tako kahe Krishna Upadesh. So that's what he was doing it. And if he goes with his Sanskrit language, Hindi to England, and he preach there, who will listen to him? He had to go to English.
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised with the way he's giving Hindi lectures. I hear sometimes. Well, his Hindi is excellent. I do. Really, I really great regard for him. I wish to see any Acharya personality in my life. He's so well versed in the subject he is in it. He really spread it, and Prabhuji, we have just spread it. In time to come, they keep on spreading only. I've seen many people who are spreading Prabhupada. Only other day, Mukesh Ambani, they started a culture center where even Maharaj went. So I think Prabhupada is a personality in itself. This is a standalone. I don't think anybody should try to compare with him. There's
Not at all.
certainly something which is never compared. He's not a comparable person at all. Sorry, Prabhupada. Thank you.
Absolutely. Like we have, like in football, we have the defenders, the midfielders, the strikers. So the Acharya Parampara also work like this. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they compiled all the literatures. Bhakti Vinod Thakur created a process of preaching in English. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur organized the whole preaching. Srila Prabhupada spread this whole preaching. All our acharyas have worked smoothly, seamlessly. And they are all in the same league. They all are, Shaktavesha. They are all having the empowerment of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we should never misunderstand their position. That's the greatest offense that we can commit in our bhakti.
In fact, I should say we do offense to listen to such fellows who makes this type of comments.
Absolutely. We should
They
just,
should-
we should just cover our ears.
Yeah. Well, ignore them. Absolutely ignore them. There's no use arguing with them. Because they are not spiritual, and we are into spiritual fields. They are materialist fellow. Verified criticizing somebody, some acharya, itself is an offense. You may not accept him, but you need not give your view to everybody about it.
Absolutely. Yes, so we continue. Text 24. Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya
Namo Vishwasatvaya.
Haraye Hari Medhase
Haraye
Hare
Hari.
Hari Medse.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam.
Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam.
Yes.
May I
Like to read? Yes,
May I read
please.
too?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Bhaktivinoda Pranam. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your Lordship always take away the devotees' miserable conditions. For your brain plans how to do so. You live everywhere as Paramatma. Therefore, you are known as Vasudeva. You also accept Vasudeva as your father, and you are celebrated by the name of Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Purport. In the previous verse, it has been said, Grihit Maya Guna Virgati, that the Lord accepts three kinds of bodies, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and inheriting the cosmic manifestations. The three predominating deities of the material universe, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are called Gunavatar. There are many kinds of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the first incarnation within this material world are Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, Shiva. Out of these three, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva accept material bodies, but Lord Vishnu does not accept a material body. Lord Vishnu is therefore known as Vishuddha Sattva. His existence is completely free from the contamination of the material modes of nature. One should therefore not think that Lord Vishnu is in the same category with the Lord Brahma and Shiva. The Shastra forbids us to think this way. Yes, to Narayana Devam, Brahma Rudraya Devata, Sam Divina Vikatsate, Saha Pakhandi, Bhavat Dhruvam. One who considers Lord Vishnu to be in the same category as Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, or who thinks that Brahma is equal to Lord Vishnu, is to be considered as Pakhandi, a faithless. Therefore, in this verse, Lord Vishnu is distinguished in the Vishuddha Sattva. Although a living entity like us, Lord Brahma, due to his previous activities, pious activities, therefore he is given the high position. Lord Shiva is not actually like living entity, but he is known personality of Godhead. His position is somewhere between Supreme Personality of Godhead and Brahma. The living entities is therefore explained in Brahma Samhita in this way. He Krishna Mitha Yadhe Vikul Vishwa Yogana Sangvate Na He Tatha Prem Asti Tato Yoho Sabhutam Api Tatha Samupati Kareto Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Lord Shiva is considered to be like yogurt, dahi. Yogurt transformed milk. Nonetheless, yogurt cannot be accepted similarly. Lord Shiva holds almost all the powers of Lord Vishnu, also above the qualities of the living entity. But he is no way Vishnu just as yogurt, although transformed milk is not exact. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also described Vasudeva Krishnaya. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all Vishnu explanations are his plenary portions or the portions of his plenary portions, known as Samsaha and Kala, Samvesa and Kala. The Samvesa or direct explanation is also called Ansa. All Vishnu tattvas are Ansaha, direct parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is known as Vasudev because he appeared in this material world as the son of Vasudeva. Similarly, he is known as Devaki Nandan, Yashoda Nandan, Nandandan, and so on. Again and again, the Lord is very much interested in increasing the influence of his devotees. Therefore, he is described here as a Prabhava Sarva Sattvatam. The Sattvata community is a community of Vaishnavas, pure devotees of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has unlimited powers, and he wants to see that his devotees are also entrusted with unlimited powers. A devotee of the Lord is always, therefore, distinguished from all other living entities. Hare Krishna. Sorry. Word Hari, slightly bigger purport. Just a minute. The word Hari means one who takes away all miserable conditions. And Hari Madhas means that the Lord is always planning always to deliver the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. The Lord is so kind that he personally incarnates to deliver the conditioned souls. And whenever he comes, he makes this plan. Pritaram sadhunam vinasai te duskaram dharma samasthapanate sambhavami yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Since the Lord delivers all conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya, he is known as Hari Madhar. In this, the list of incarnations, Krishna is described as the supreme and the original personality of Godhead. Iti samskara kalaha unisha Krishna to Bhagavan Shivam. In the Indri Viktam Tokigam. Madhyate Yuga Yuga. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, appears in this material world when the demigods, who are the devoted Lord, are disturbed by the devils. Hare Krishna, Janma Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya Haraye Hari Medhase Vasudevaya Krishnaya Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam. So, dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions, for your brain plans how to do so. Haraye Hari Medhase. You're, Hari Medhase, you are only thinking of deliverance of devotees. Medha, Medha means intelligence or brain. You live everywhere as Paramatma, therefore you are known as Vasudeva. You also accept Vasudeva as your father. So Vasudevaya Krishnaya, accepting, appearing as the son of Vasudeva, Vasudeva. And you are celebrated by the name Krishna. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha. Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. So, and you are celebrated by the name of Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Now, you see, this is like a masterpiece of a purport. Prabhupada has written this so beautifully. So, see, Krishna is appearing in this material world in 3 levels. In Sattva Guna, in Tamo Guna, and Rajo Guna, and in Tamo Guna. Like above the water, on the surface of the water, and below the water. In this way, like Krishna is operating in this world. So Sattva Guna. So Vishuddha Sattva, he appears as Lord Vishnu. Now here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually Srila Prabhupada explains the distinction between Krishna and Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada explains that Vishnu is the pure personality of Godhead within this material world. So he is pure, but he is not completely pure in that sense. Because as a personality of Godhead, he has affection for the material world. That is not a contamination, but that's an affection for material world. Whereas Krishna is completely indifferent to this material world. Therefore, when Krishna appeared in this world, Mahavishnu wanted to see Arjuna and Krishna together. So as we were discussing yesterday, yesterday, Hindi Gita, we were discussing this, that Arjuna's position is very unique. Arjuna's position is distinct. He's not an ordinary jiva. He's an eternal associate of Krishna. That's why Mahavishnu also wanted to see him. He's the Nara part of Naranarayan. That is Arjuna. Arjuna is not an ordinary man like us. So Krishna appears as Vishnu within this material world, maintaining some affection for the material world. Krishna is indifferent. He's got nothing to do with matter at all. Mahavishnu is working in this world. Like Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna in office is Vishnu. Like Krishna is like a boy. He's a child. He's just playing. He has got nothing to do with this world. All calamities may come, but Krishna is not interested. Vishnu is taking that role. So he's known as a Guna avatar. Krishna is not a Guna avatar. Only Vishnu is Guna avatar. because he's taking that guna of sattva. But of course, because he's the Supreme Lord, he takes Vishuddha sattva. He's not tainted by Rajoguna or Tamoguna. In this material world, the highest of sages will still have some taint of Rajoguna. But Vishnu is completely pure. So, Brahma is Guna avatar, Rajoguna. So you see, Krishna says, Mameva Ansha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhoot Sanatana. So Mameva Ansha Jiva Loke. So his own Ansha, Jiva, takes the role of Brahma. Sometimes when there is no qualified Jiva, then Krishna himself becomes Brahma. He takes that role of Brahma. So then there is Lord Shiva. Kshiram yatha dadhi vikara vishesha yoga sanjayate nahi tatah prathak asti heto. Yah sambhutam api tatha samupayeti karyat govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So he is dadhi vikara. Kshiram yatha dadhi vikara vishesha yoga. So by a special process, just like milk is converted to curd, so Lord Shiva is a conversion of Vishnu Tattva, his Shiva Tattva. And he is presiding over the Tamoguna. Actually, it's not Krishna directly, Tamasi, the Tamasi incarnation of Chaturvyuha or Lord Sankarshana expands as Lord Shiva. So yogurt is nothing but transformed milk. Nonetheless, yogurt cannot be accepted as milk. So therefore, Shiva is not Krishna. Shiva is not Vishnu. So therefore, he is merciful. Now, why does he do this? Why does he need to do this? I mean, with his mere glance, he can purify the whole universe. So why doesn't he do that? So the point here is the point of true liberation. Krishna is saying that, you have to surrender to me. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So this very small, innocuous sounding word, priti purvakam. What is priti? Love is voluntary. Love has no compulsions. Love cannot be legislated. So Krishna can purify the living entity, and that's why we see that when Krishna purifies the living entity attains liberation. Not prema. Doesn't attain love. It attains liberation. So why does that happen? Because love is very much the volition of the living entity himself. If the living entity doesn't want to love, Krishna will not impose his love. So therefore, Krishna leaves him to the point of liberation wherein he can decide what he wants to do. If he wants to love Krishna, he will attain love. That's why Krishna is saying, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati tamah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One can attain pure devotion after liberation. Krishna will help you to attain up to liberation. But prema, you have to earn. Prema, you have to cultivate. So, how does this connect with this verse? So, if we see, Krishna appears in all the three forms, Sattva form, Rajo form, and Tamo form, to guide all the forms of living entities from their respective situations, helping them voluntarily develop respect and eventually love for Krishna. So he himself is present very much in this word. So now there one word is mentioned here, Vasudevaya Krishnaya Prabhave Sarva Satvatam. Very important part of this verse. Vasudevaya Krishnaya. Srila Prabhupada explains. So Krishna, why does Krishna appear in this world? If we read Krishna book or the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, we understand that Krishna is appearing in this world to attract us. Krishna can perform his Ras Leela anywhere he feels like. He can create his own planet and enjoy Ras Leela there. And why not? Why shouldn't he do that? In this world, there are so many demons to harass him. Kansa hates him. He sends how many? 21, 22 demons to harass him, to kill him actually. Yeah. Then there is Jarasandha. There is Kalyavan. Then there is Duryodhan. There's so many of these rascals and demons who just want to harass Krishna. I mean, who would want that? Think of it this way. If I tell you that, you go to live in one colony where everyone hates you. Someone will puncture your car. Someone will break your window. Someone will throw garbage at your doorstep. Would you like to go there? So why does Krishna come into this world where no one loves him? In his Govardhan Leela lecture, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that when Krishna appeared in this world, practically a handful of people actually understood him as Lord. So you can imagine that practically a handful of people only loved him in this world. But still he is here. So why does he come? Why does he do that? The explanation is that he comes here to attract. So you see this verse, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. So to attract the sadhus. So how do they deliver the sadhus? So sadhus may not be fully pure, but when they see the beautiful activities of Krishna, their hearts are attracted. There may be some contamination of sattva still, some trace of ahankar, but when they see the beautiful activities of Krishna, their hearts get melted. And with that melted heart, they're able to love Krishna freely, unabashedly. And therefore they are delivered. Then they are truly delivered. That last trace of ahankar melts when they see the beauty and compassion of Krishna. So that's why Krishna appears in this world. But you see how much more compassionate Krishna is. He appears as Krishna and performs his beautiful pastimes of Rasa Leela and Sakhya Leela. But when souls are still not attracted, he appears as Lord Chaitanya. And still he gives further knowledge. Like Prabhupada explains, like a teacher, he holds our hands and says, here, this is the way to develop devotion to me. So that is the mercy of Krishna. So sometimes we may mistake that Mahaprabhu, what is this Krishna egoistic, that he's coming here to teach us his own love, glorifying himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, Krishna has no need to do that. And Krishna is humble enough not to glorify himself, even in Bhagavad Gita, where there is actually a need for glorification. Krishna comes here out of pure compassion for us. And we can see the gradations of Mahaprabhu's, Krishna's mercy, even in Chaitanya Leela. When he sees that we are so hard-hearted, that we are not accepting him as such, he even takes sannyas and abandons his own loving family just to teach us his perfection of renunciation. He displays his full opulence of renunciation just to attract our hearts. So that is compassion of Krishna. And that's why he appears as Brahma and Shiva also, just to deliver us. So that our rascal hearts can still become attracted somehow or the other. Some degree we attain purification so that we can elevate ourselves within this material world and not suffer here. And therefore you see, he appears again and again. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Again and again he appears in so many forms, somehow or the other, to attract different types of souls. He puts these souls in conditions where they can see him, and then he tries to attract them. And you see, this is the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's purport here. You see, if these two verses, if you see 4.8 and 1.3.28, these are the analogous verses which I was telling you about 2 years ago. That, try to analyze Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita side by side, and you will find the similes, and then you will fall in love with these scriptures. So he says, see, Vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And here you see, Indrari vyakulam lokam mrudayanti yuge yuge. So whenever demons are harassing the demigods, or the, Indrari vyakulam lokam, whenever demons are harassing the devotees, he is appearing. And up there he says, to destroy the impious, he appears again and again. You see, this is the simile of verses within Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So if you try to understand these two scriptures very nicely, you will be able to see so many such similes and you will become more and more attracted. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
At least, Hare Krishna, at least my experience has been that when we have been reading Bhagavad Gita before Bhagavatam, it's always sounds like that. Okay, we just had about the same topic in Bhagavatam, so it's like it's really nice to read it together. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna. So if there are no questions, we stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai, Jai. Thank you,
Pranam.
Prabhu. Thank you, Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Well done. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.